If you've been to the mall recently, I'm sure you've noticed that everyone is coming down with holiday fever. The lines are more tangled than a box of Christmas lights, and there's no such thing as a quick trip. Luckily, 1-800-Flowers.com makes finding the perfect gift a joyous occasion. Skipping lines and hitting 1-800-Flowers is my holiday answer. And right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving my listeners a special 24 for 24 offer. 24 holiday lights roses for $24. It's only $1 a rose. 24 holiday light roses are the perfect way to give a holiday surprise to that special person on your list. These beautiful bouquets of 24 roses in a rush of Christmas light tones will leave your loved ones stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Holiday roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 24 holiday lights roses for only $24. Unreal deal, but it expires Wednesday. When it comes to meaningful holiday moments, trust in the quality bouquets of 1-800-Flowers.com. To order 24 holiday lights roses for only $24, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. Hurry, though. Offer ends Wednesday, so get yours now.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of getting 2 W's on the road or catching the home run ball without spilling your drink. Double boom. Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
Glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic here. Jimbo Fisher will join us in just a few minutes, new head coach at Texas A&M. But, it's interesting what gets traction sometimes.
It's unreal.
We talk about the idea of toasting peanut butter and jelly sandwiches has been a huge discrepancy to a lot of people.
And it all started with Doug Marrone, the head coach in Jacksonville, who says after a game he likes to eat by himself a fried bologna and cheese sandwich with some spicy mustard. And I'm cool with that. I'm fine with it, but then you're right. It turned to peanut butter and jelly. I don't toast my bread.
But you see why you would.
I understand it.
The melty goodness.
I completely understand.
Getting all the nooks and crannies.
But then it really goes off into bizarro world where I sometimes think people tweet stuff just to get a reaction. Craig tweets, best sandwich ever, peanut butter and tuna.
No.
Peanut butter and bologna.
Peanut butter and bologna, okay.
Peanut butter and mustard.
No.
It sounds almost
that's
like
a condiment sandwich.
It's horrific.
That's a wish sandwich. You wish you had some meat in it.
There you go.
I mean, that's.
But if you like it, more power to you. Enjoy it. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to say I'm not going to eat it. Yes, I'm a peanut butter and jelly guy. No doubt about it.
Real quickly, have you ever had a peanut butter Frito and banana sandwich?
I've had peanut butter and banana, not a Frito.
Put Fritos in there. Really good.
I have not done that.
Really, really good.
Add a little salt, huh?
Little everything that's probably not the best for you, but go for it.
I don't imagine it's in the food groups.
Jimbo, it's in a food group. Yeah. Just probably not in one of the ones you're supposed to have. Mm-hmm. Jimbo Fisher will join us a little later on Golic and Wingo. But Peter King, on the Monday Morning Quarterback, had an interesting sort of comment here about what it takes to do well in New York City if you're a manager or a coach. And he said the new GM and coach cannot be as media-averse as Jerry Reese and Ben McAdoo were. This is New York, New Jersey. These guys cannot hide for 363 of the 365 days a year. Reese talked twice a year. That's absurd. McAdoo treated press sessions like root canal appointments without Novocaine. The point being is you have to be able to relate to these people. And now you have our own Aaron Boone, who is now going to be the new general manager of the Yankees. What's more important in dealing with a very media-savvy manager, dealing with a very media-savvy crowd? Is it how to deal with them or how to deal with the players and the team itself?
Well, listen, obviously, at the end of the day, it's how you deal with the players because if that's going to have an effect on what goes on in the field, you have to be able to manage those players. So I think that's important. But obviously, how you deal with the media, especially in New York, And I to me, the key is you control the situation.
Right.
I mean, Bill Parcells controlled the situation. Bill Parcells controlled press conferences. He didn't let people dictate to him what was going on. He wasn't as reactionary all the time. He would be proactive. And I think it was Herm. We were talking to this about Herm one time, and I think one of the things Herm said was before he went out there, he would ask the PR guy, what's the hot topic? Now, A lot of times you'll know what it is, but sometimes because you're out there every single day.
And you're so ensconced in film and understanding.
So what's a hot topic? So, and Herm would be told that he'd go out there and he'd address it right away. He would kind of take the edge off right away before they start throwing questions your way. So to me, that's the key. And they do so many. And then you think of Aaron Boone, how many times he's going to be in front of the media. But I think the key for a coach/manager is you control it. You know, coaches and managers love to send their agenda through the media to players. but you control that situation.
Yeah. And Bill controlled it in one different way. I mean, he had an adversarial relationship.
Yes, he did.
You know, he always talked to them guys as sort of espionage and counterintelligence, and they'd ask a question, because that's what I'm talking about, subterfuge, inversion from within. You know, you guys are undermining, but I mean, they knew who he was, and he knew who they was, and Herm also. I mean, this is how Herm controlled it.
You play to win the game.
You know, he got out there and laid it out there.
Made his statements. Yeah. But, you know, we obviously know there are some media that are tougher than others. And in New York, it absolutely can be. So you have to know that going in. So you have to decide kind of how you want to deal with the situation. But to me, it's about you control it. You control what's going to happen there and how you're going to answer questions. And because they'll pick up on it quickly. Well, he won't go into this. He will go into this. I'm going to try and get him to go into this. And then if he starts to open the door a little bit, I'm going to try and burrow in there to ask more questions. So just control the situation as best you can.
And Aaron Boone's introductory press conference as the new manager of the Yankees will take place at noon today, I believe. So we'll see how he handles that. You know, we had some fun with Chuck Pagano of the Colts a couple weeks ago talking about all the losses are like Groundhog's Day, and it was lost completely on all the members of the media. They didn't see the movie or they didn't remember it. He actually gave members of the Colts media copies of Groundhog Day.
Oh, he
did. Movie. So
nice move.
Here. Just like this is what I'm talking about, so they can find some way to relate.
Yeah.
So we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Jimbo Fisher will be joining us shortly, and that's going to be an interesting one, right? I mean, Jimbo did very well. He was with Bobby Bowden forever at Florida State, and then he was the head coach, won a national championship there, and now he moves on to Texas A&M, and he gets himself into not only the SEC as opposed to the ACC, but the Texas dynamic. And having gone to school in Tech, it is a different deal. Okay, there's the conference that you're in, that A&M is now in,
right.
But there's also the state that you're recruiting in, which, however you want to slice it, Florida, Texas, California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, these are the hotbed states where most of these athletes come from. And it is a cutthroat business, not only trying to get players from different SEC schools, but trying to out-Texas schools.
Well, listen, I completely agree, but this is a guy in Jimbo Fisher who, at Florida State, he could walk into any home in the country, whether it's in Florida or whether it's in California, and players know exactly who he is and who he coaches for. So he's a guy I don't think that's ever been intimidated by where he is. And I know that's not what you were saying.
No.
He's not, you know, for guys like Scott Frost, who haven't been head coach in Power 5 schools, to go from UCF now to Nebraska and to be trying to pull five-star talent, you know, from some of the other big schools out there, that could be a little different. For Jimbo, he's used to doing that. So the college coaching carousel has been amazing. One of the first one that opened up, Tennessee.
They're
going to be the last one looking.
Still looking.
You know, and I know they got a couple of second interviews. Looks like they're going to go the route of they've been interviewing different defensive coordinators from around the country, and probably the area that they're going to go. Looks like Arkansas is close to Chad Morris, the coach at SMU, big high-flying offensive minded coach there. Oregon now, obviously, with Taggart going to Florida State, that opened up. We'll see how quickly they fill that. Heupel at UCF. So everything's getting filled except for Tennessee. And one of the reasons that you open up the job as early as you did is so you can start looking for replacements, and they're now going to be last in this ladder of trying to get a head coach. So it has not been a great situation for them. And for Texas A&M, they get a guy in Jimbo Fisher who, you know, you wonder the last 2 years, was he looking to get out of there? And then you get another offer from Florida State. And at some point, Florida State says, you know, we've pretty much given all we could give, and you're not going to outdo, you know, because we could sit here and say, oh, it's not about money, but some of it is about money.
Of course it is.
And 10 for 75 is,
a lot of money.
It is about a lot of money. He's coaching still, obviously, a big-time school in a different conference now in the SEC. So I really want to ask him, though, how it all, because that's a main concern for me, how you leave your players and what kind of a situation that was.
By the way, Jimbo Fisher will be joining us in a few minutes on Golic and Wingo. We've been talking about peanut butter and jelly and how you like grape and I like strawberry. They put it up on a poll. It's 50-50 right now.
Is it really?
1,100 votes.
Grape and strawberry.
Grape and strawberry, 50-50. And also, yes or no on a bologna sandwich, also 50-50.
No way.
Yes.
They're both 50-50.
With over 1,100 votes. So, in other words, I think we've really sort of delved into the hot button topics that people are really concerned about.
Wow.
We got 50-50 with grape and strawberry and 50-50 with whether you're pro-bologna or anti-bologna. So keep those going, and we'll have tweets for you.
That's amazing.
On the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. But just so people understand, I went to Baylor University when it was the old Southwest Conference, okay? And I was there during the heyday of SMU, heyday or low day, however you want to look at it.
Right.
Pony Excess, one of the great 30 for 30s of all time. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember who the coach was, but just how competitive, in speaking to what Jimbo's getting into, not only with the SEC, but in recruiting in Texas. It was National Signing Day, and I can't remember who the coach was, and they thought they had this guy committed. And the guy called the day before and said, I'm actually going to this other school. And I don't want to name the school because I don't want to get it wrong. And the coach said, but you'd never even set foot on that campus. And the player said, I just feel I'd be more comfortable there.
Yeah, would you now?
Yeah, so there was a lot going on. There were 9 schools, I think, in the old Southwest Conference, 8 of them in Texas and 1 in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And everybody knew what was going on.
Sure.
And, you were it was a family thing that you were trying to out-compete, whether it was Tech or SMU or Rice or Texas or Baylor or A&M or Houston or Arkansas. I mean, you're all calling from the same pot. And that's the different dynamic with Texas.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but look where Jimbo came from. Who was he dealing with there?
No, absolutely.
The U, Florida, and Florida State.
Yep.
All trying to get, and Florida is one of the best states there is as far as five-star talent in the country. So, there's the negative recruiting aspect. You want to think that was going on? So I really personally don't think there's anything new he's going to see recruiting, based out of Texas than he was in Florida, where it's a hotbed for great athletes, and they had other big-time schools there as well. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of changes in big schools this year. This is one of the ones I can't remember in a long time where major schools have changed coaches, and it seems so commonplace right now that I wonder if we're all getting numb to it. We'll yell about it for a while. We'll say it's unfair to the players because the coaches can just leave whenever they want, and the players are stuck where they are, and then we just kind of move on from there and go on to the next thing.
Absolutely. And speaking of moving on, as we're waiting for Jimbo Fisher to call in, he'll be with us in a minute. One of the best players in college football, Derwin James, I guess you call him a safety. He's played every position there is for the Seminoles, is going to go and enter the NFL draft, thus sort of continuing the pattern we saw last year with Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette skipping the bowl game. And for a guy like James, who is going to be a top 10 pick, more than likely in the draft, and it's not a national championship game, you understand this, right? You understand it's a slippery slope. I get it, but if you have to look for the kid for the next 10 years, not the next 2 months.
It'll be interesting where the line gets drawn, because the 2 guys we talked about last year, Fournette and McCaffrey, we saw where they went.
Both
they were
in the top 8.
first-round guys and both doing well. And you look at the guys this year. So James going to be a top pick. Elliott, there's 3 from Texas. Elliott, the safety, he's considered first or second rounder.
Williams,
the offensive lineman, considered a first rounder. Where does the line go? So you want to protect that. How about, because again, a lot of these guys, they can apply to the NFL and get a grade. They'll apply to the NFL and they'll be sent back where these NFL, and these are people who look at their tape and project where they think they'll get drafted. So for guys in the mid-round, so I guess I'm trying to figure out where you would decide if you're a mid-round guy. Would you still want to protect yourself and not play in the bowl game? Or would you say, you know what, it's one more game that I can get on tape that I can show scouts of how I can play? Or do you say, they've got enough of me on tape, I'm just going to train because the combine's extremely important, maybe more important than we think it is? So I just wonder where we're going to see the line this year, because we've already seen more than last year of guys that are skipping the bowl game, and I think that's just going to keep happening. I'll be really curious as to the number of players that skip their bowl game this year. Again, the bowl games start, next Friday?
Right.
I mean, they're coming up. So, there's been word out there, and I don't think we've had a definitive word yet about Bradley Chubb. He won the Nagurski Award as a top defensive player. Is he going to play in his team's bowl game? There's reports he's going to, reports he's not going to. We haven't heard yet, and we're still going to try and get some of these guys on just to talk about who they spoke to. Who was their counsel in deciding this to not go into the bowl game? As I said, I don't think I could ever have done it, but I can understand why they're doing it. I can understand the thought process of it. I would have a very hard time doing it, but I understand the thought process behind these guys if they're talking to their team and telling their teams what they're going about and telling their coach that it's time for them to move on.
By the way, Derwin James, Todd McShay has just put up his top 32 prospects. You mentioned Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb is currently ranked 5th by Todd McShay, and we don't know what's going on with him in North Carolina State, but Derwin James is skipping the bowl game. He is the 6th best prospect, according to Todd McShay. Yep. He had been 5, so basically he and Chubb just flipped. And the other thing with James is he's already had an injury. I mean, he tore the lateral meniscus in his left knee in the second game of 2016 and received a medical red shirt. So I think if you've already been down that road and with the injury, I'm sure it weighs more on you. You know, and we saw what happened with Jalen Smith a couple of years ago in the Fiesta Bowl.
I go back to that game because that was the amount of players drafted from those two. They played Ohio State.
Right.
You know who was on the field for Ohio State? Joey Bosa.
Well, not very long. He got
kicked out in the first quarter. I was there. I was to watch the game. Zeke Elliott.
Yep.
I mean, I think that year, what it was, 12 or 14 players for Ohio State got drafted, and I think 8 or 9 for Notre Dame. I think it was like 19, 20, something like some ridiculous number between those two teams, and nobody sat that game out.
Right.
You know, they all played it, and you saw Jalen Smith, who would probably been a top 5 pick, and we noticed that we figured out it cost him probably about $19 million, and now we've seen what's happening forward.
You mentioned $19 million. I'm going to take your 19 and raise it to 75.
Okay.
Because we are delighted to be joined now here on Golic and Wingo by the new head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo, congratulations on the move. It's been a whirlwind for you the last 6 or 7 days. Can you sort of encapsulate what this has all been like in making the big transition from Florida State to College Station?
Well, it was a huge decision because I was at a tremendous place and that I loved and, had no ambitions of leaving at any time. But there's opportunities that come up in life, and you just thought it's something that it was very good for you and your family in some situations. Again, I love there, have the great, admiration for Florida State, but I just think there's some things going on out here at Texas A&M that with our current situation, I think is got a chance to do something really special, and I want to be a part of it. So,
and listen, we all know we don't have to be rocket scientists to understand that the money was fantastic. The deal is a great deal, and nobody should be ashamed of saying, it's always not about the money. It's a lot of money. You got a lot of money. So that said, what are some of the other things? What were the other things that made you make this decision to leave Florida State and go to Texas A&M?
Well, I think, first of all, I had a great relationship with the athletic director. Not that I did at Florida State, but we go back 20 years. And we were together at LSU when we got that thing turned around and did that. And I know his direction. He was AD at Washington and really straightened Washington out, did a great job, got their program back on track. And he comes in here
as far as before
you have money and you have a great recruiting base.
Before we look even more forward, sorry for interrupting you there. I want to look back a little bit because one of the things that I always had said when a coach leaves a school is, boy, the one thing he's got to do one way or another is he's got to talk to the players, in my opinion. And so
no doubt.
Can you explain how that route went for you of when you decided to go and if you talked to the players, how you talked to the players and how that went?
No, we had a team meeting. I was planning on coaching the game on Friday, and because they had got to my representation and started to make the offer, and I was going to decide on Saturday night or Sunday, and our president asked me if I could make a decision on Friday, thought it'd be best. So I went over and met with him approximately 11:30, 12 o'clock, somewhere in that range, and we sat down and talked about it, and I made a decision. But we weren't going to. No one was going to know, and I had to tell him that. And then I was going directly to our team meeting at 2 o'clock and was going to tell the players. And when I walked in, and I told the players, and when I did, somehow it got out about 10 minutes before that, which not for me, and I don't know where it got out, but I was going to tell the players, and it was a very emotional, tough decision because I had recruited all those guys. We had done some tremendous things. I loved them, and then I was. It happened just briefly, and then I went in and had a team meeting at 2 o'clock to tell the players. And that by far is always the toughest thing to do because you have tremendous relationships, and you still want them to do extremely well. You want them to win the game. You want them to win bowl games. You hope they have tremendous success in the future. And that was it. So, that's how that whole thing transpired to come down.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher with us on Golic and Wingo. One of the reasons we asked that question, obviously, was the quarterback DeAndre Francois there put some tweets out that he was upset about that. Did you get a chance to talk to him specifically at all?
I called DeAndre. He wasn't in the meeting.
So you did call him and talk to him specifically?
I did leave him a message. He wasn't in there. I called him directly when I left out of the meeting about 35, 40 minutes later and then tried to leave him a message. And DeAndre, because he was injured and he had some class nothing, but he was not in that direct meeting because at that time he wasn't playing in the game. and that, he's a great kid, and he was down there probably rehabbing or doing some kind of academic because he did not know anything. So no one did. I didn't know I was going to do that day. We had no idea the president had called the meeting to do that, and that's what happened. And like I say, I've talked to all those players since and had tremendous tweets and texts with them and gotten along, and that's where that came from.
And I'm sure a lot of players will wish you well and say thanks for the time there, but I'm sure you would also understand if there are players that are upset. Not only the fact that, you recruited them and then you left, but then they don't get a chance to do anything as well, just kind of the whole situation. So I'm sure you can understand that side of the coin as well.
We do, but it's funny. I've got about 50 of them that were very understood everything, and because kids today understand situations, they make very similar situations. Just for instance, like Derwin is right now. He has to leave and go to the NFL and has to decide whether to play in a bowl game. And that guy right there is as great a competitor as you ever put on the field and as great a young man. And it's kids understand that, and mostly I've talked to a lot of our players since then and text back and forth, and I had a good rapport with all that whole scenario. But unfortunately, that's a part of this thing that's not always a fun thing.
It's a great point you brought up, and I agree with you. I think kids today understand these 18-year-olds when you go in there.
Totally different.
Yeah, they understand. So from a coach's standpoint, when you go in a living room now, it used to be the sell was, I'm going to be there for your kid the whole time. Is that still a sell because it has changed a little bit, or is it a different conversation?
Well, but see, people, when did guys never move? People have always moved. This has been part of coaching since the beginning of time. I mean, all your great coaches most of them have made decisions to move. And today I think it's much harder to stay for 40 years because of the pressures and the money and everything that goes with it. But at the same time, I had no ambitions of leaving there. I had no plans of leaving there. Sometimes I'm just like here. I mean, I think this is a place you can stay at and be at forever. And the resources and the people and the commitment they have to being great, I think is tremendous. Not that you didn't have it at Florida State. They were too. It's just, you have to make choices in life. But kids are honest. I'm planning on being here your whole time. And that's the truth.
Well, look, A&M was hoping you're there for all 10 years. There's no question about that. They literally rolled out the maroon carpet for you when you landed in College Station. And, Jimbo, before you joined us, I was talking a little bit. I went to school in Texas down at Baylor when it was the old Southwest Conference. And, there's two things now that you're sort of dealing with, the competitiveness in the SEC, but there's also that in-state rivalry in Texas, which means so much to so many of those kids, whether it's Texas or Baylor or Houston or A&M. I mean, it is a real thing to try and out-Texas every other school in that state.
There's no doubt. I mean, there's so many schools and so many great schools that are playing great football. And, and the high school football is tremendous. The High School Coaches Association down here is unbelievable. And what they do and how they prepare their players, and it is an unbelievably competitive world down here. There's no doubt.
I don't know this. Have you met with the players yet there? If you have, what did you say? Or so what was the first message that you had for them?
That we expect to be great, and there's a way in which we're going to do things, and a way we're going to approach our business, a process to how we're going to do things, and we're going to be committed and be accountable and dependable in the things in which we do. And but they understand that, and they want to be great also. And then I'm in the recruiting trail. I'm letting the coaches that are here. They're going to coach the bowl game, and I'm going to stay out of that and let these guys finish their season and have a tremendous bowl game and hopefully have a great win in Charlotte.
Well, listen, number one thing that you feel like you need to do right out of the gate at Texas A&M to get this program going in the right direction is what, Jimbo?
Well, I think, first of all, you got to connect with your players very quickly, and I think you got to reach out to the coaches and the Coaches Association and make yourself available throughout this state that people know you and how you're going to run your program and get that relationship with the coaches and players because they're the lifeline to your program.
We appreciate it, Coach, very much so. You got a big wardrobe change coming up for you.
Yeah.
Different colors, but same thing. You're coaching football, and best of luck. I'm sure we'll talk to you down the road.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimbo.
Hey, everyone. Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Life happens. With ADT, you can feel safe with an ADT starter kit professionally installed for only $49. Call today and install an ADT starter kit that includes security panel, keypad, key fob, entry and motion sensors, and for a limited time, get a camera included and installed at no additional cost. That's a $449 value installed for just $49.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSB, and easy pay activation. Early term fees may apply. Certain marks excluded. License available at ADT.com, Florida EF001121, UBZ F1639.
I want to quickly read a tweet going on. We just had Jimbo Fisher on, and we had a lot of talk about college coaches changing and the landscape of college football. And Danny says, I don't get it. You criticize the way the NCAA does things on one hand and then basically saying kiss the butt of the coach next when you had Jimbo on. It's ridiculous. If you feel that way about it, do something. Danny, the coach has every right to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Every right to do. We're saying that if the system's going to change, it has to change on the side of the player.
Right.
It's not going to change on the side of the coach. They have a right. There's nothing stopping them from doing what they're doing. You may not like it, but they're allowed to do that. The players are restricted. So the talk is, should the players be less restricted because of this, because the coaches get to move around? That's not going to change. So it's not from the coach's side, though you may not agree with a coach leaving the school and going for another job, but they have the right to do it, and that's not going to change. We're talking about it from the other side of it.
Exactly. The point we made earlier, and it's not something that Jimbo Fisher can address. The question becomes around the NCAA and school administrators wanting to make that change, and I don't think they ever will want to make that change.
I don't think they want to either,
but we both feel what's good for the coach should be good for the players.
And there are those on the other side. And I'm not complete freedom of players either. I want to be careful of going too far, of just having complete bedlam of letting a player go whenever he wants and leave whenever he wants. But, should there be some stipulation when – because the thing that the NCAA falls back on all the time is, well, the student athlete should choose the school. Did you just
air quote that?
I did. Okay. Should choose the school for the school, not the coach.
Right.
That's absurd. I mean, they're choosing it a lot. Then, if that's the case, then you're choosing it a lot of the times. You may love the school. Like I loved Notre Dame. My brother Bob went there. My brother Greg was going there. I love Notre Dame. But the high percentage of people are looking at the coach and where that can take them. So then all of a sudden that coach isn't there anymore. So we're saying, should there be something that the player should do? Should that player of a school that loses a coach have to still sit a year while a coach can just leave? We're talking about the other side of the player side, not from the coach's side.
And by the way, why do you think one of the biggest reasons Herm Edwards is at Arizona State? Because that guy can go into a room and seal the deal. That's why. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons Herm – look, he's going to be a great coach, all that kind of stuff. That's the bottom line. You go listen to Herm Edwards talk, you're going to be blown away.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Yep.
All right,
I agree.
All right, we got something to play for you now. Over Under, brought to you by Amazon Music Unlimited for a limited time only. Sign up today and receive 3 months for 99 cents at Amazon.com/Music Unlimited.
Over Under with Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start with the big Heisman Trophy vote that's going to be going on this weekend. Over under 91.6, the percentage of votes Baker Mayfield receives for the Heisman vote.
By the way, that number, we just didn't pick it out of thin air. It's the highest ever percentage by a winner. That was Troy Smith back in 2006. I don't think he goes over that. I still say it's going to be under. Bryce Love and Lamar Jackson are the other two. Lamar Jackson, your winner last year. So I do think it will still be under that.
Well, look, it's kind of like the baseball writers for the Hall of Fame. There's never been a unanimous for whatever reason. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. If you think someone should be in, they should be in. And just because somebody else hasn't done it doesn't mean that this guy shouldn't do it. But I agree. I think that thinking will be part of this. I think it'll be under. By the way, the odds, he's 1-20. The odds, I think Jackson is 40-1. I think that Bryce Love is 15-1. He's 1-20.
1-20.
Yeah, so it's
crazy.
It's very heavily favored.
It's set up for him to beat this. It's set up for him, you would think, to have a higher percentage.
We'll see if he crosses that threshold. Okay, next up on Over Under, 3.5 quarterbacks taken before Baker Mayfield in the 2018 draft.
Some of these other quarterbacks: Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Mason Rudolph as well from Oklahoma State. Trey, I think it's going to be under. I think Baker is picking up a lot of steam. I think there is a train of thought in the NFL that now he doesn't have the prototypical size at 6'1", about 220, but there is the thought process that if they think he makes the right, and that's the key, does he make the right decisions? Because you can't just pick a guy because he can make something happen on the run, even though That's what Russell Wilson seems to be doing. But there's trust in Russell Wilson to make the right decision from the pocket as well, read a defense and see what's going on. If they feel Baker Mayfield can do that as well, what we're seeing in the NFL is we're seeing teams start to put their playbook around the talents of the quarterback a little bit, which seems to be a smart thing to do. So I think Baker's going to move up some in the eyes of the GMs in the NFL, and I think that's going to be under.
You know, I'm glad you brought up that. I'm going to say under as well. But I'm glad you brought up the Russell Wilson comparison because obviously we're seeing him do this year what he did in 2012 and 2013 and 2014, running around for his life basically because of the offensive line issues. But people forget in 2015 when they started 0-2 and they came back to make the playoffs. Through the latter half of the season, Russell Wilson had more passes, touchdown passes from the pocket than any quarterback in football. So we know he can do that. The question then becomes for Baker Mayfield. We've seen that. Can he work within the structure of the pocket going forward, especially not as tall as you'd like people to see? That's going to be a big question for him. Okay, next topic, over-under. 1.5 teams you'd favor over Alabama in the college football playoffs.
If this were me, it would be under, and it would be Clemson. And I think that would be it for me. Because
we'll find out early because they're playing.
Yeah, Clemson's D-line, defense overall, and then their D-line is ridiculous. Now, one of the reasons I'm going under and just taking one, and that's even close, is because Nick Saban, weeks to prepare. One of the big things is getting players back who were nicked up, getting them more healthy for this game. He's a tough guy to bet against. So I would go under in this and just take one.
Well, there's a very Belichickian approach there, right? You give that guy more time to prepare, odds are he's going to take advantage of it. You know what? I'm going to go over because I want to see chaos. I want to see all this kind of stuff happen. Plus, I do believe that Bama, as good as they've been, their defense isn't as dominant as the last couple of years, and they've got to find ways to get more plays and points in the passing game.
Right.
Look, Bo Scarborough is going to run over you, and people will be scared of him and all that kind of stuff. But Jalen Hurts has got to find a way to make some more plays in the passing game if they're going to be that national championship team again. I need to see that. Maybe in the semifinal before I'm willing to say it's under, so I'm going to go over on that one. All right, we'll move on to number 4. How about this? Over under 9.5 wins until the Cavs' next loss. They're going for 13 straight tonight, which would tie the franchise record.
Right.
Here are their next 10 opponents. Kings, Pacers, Sixers, Hawks, Lakers, Jazz, Wizards, Bucks, Bulls, and then the Warriors, maybe with or without Steph Curry on Christmas Day.
Oh, I definitely say under. I don't see them going on a 21-game winning streak or a 22-game winning streak. I see them dropping one in there. So I definitely see under at that point. They're playing really good ball right now, but I don't see it continuing to that pace of to say over, to say another 10 wins in a row. I don't see that. I think they'll drop one before that. So I go under on this one.
I'll go under there because this team is not that team from Miami a few years ago that won 27 straight, right? They're just not built that way. They're doing amazing things, and LeBron at his 15th year in is ridiculous at the things he's been doing. But I think I'm going to go under as well just because I think there's going to be a hiccup there some way along the way. But again, they go for the record tying tonight to tie the franchise record. Okay, real quickly, over-under, 2.5. The number of bologna sandwiches you've eaten while alone in your lifetime.
Oh, my God, that is so far over, I can't even
But the caveat being alone.
Yes.
Because Doug Marone likes to eat them alone.
Absolutely. I've been at home, whether it's growing up in the house or when I was out and just with bologna in the house, I would just make me a sandwich and you sit down and eat it and watch TV alone. Absolutely.
I think I would go over it was 25, not 2.5.
Oh, over 25 I would be over.
Which would have, I love this idea, but I think we should have made it at like 10.5.
Oh, agreed.
2.5 was way too low.
Way too low.
I'm sitting there watching TV, eating a bologna sandwich with a nice glass of milk.
I may eat 2 in one sitting.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
seriously.
We didn't even think about that. We're just going in the number of sittings, not the number of servings in said sitting.
If you've been to the mall recently, I'm sure you've noticed everyone is coming down with holiday fever. Luckily, 1-800-Flowers.com makes finding the perfect gift a joyous occasion. Right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving our listeners a special 24 for 24 offer. 24 holiday lights roses for just $24. That's only $1 per rose. To order 24 holiday lights roses for only $24, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. Hurry, offer ends Wednesday, so order now.
All right, we're rolling on Golic and Wingo, wrapping up on a Wednesday. Now, we had some fun throughout the show, and great tweets, by the way, at Golic and Wingo. Thanks so much.
Great job by everybody.
On the Olympic Committee, barring Russia, so if there are Russian athletes that want to compete, they have to compete basically as country neutral.
Exactly.
And they have to play the International Olympic theme song if they win a gold
There's
medal
no Russian
on the
flag
podium.
and no Russian anthem. So we expanded it to say if you were to win a gold medal for any country, here, any country, and you got to choose the music you wanted to play as you were on the podium, what would you choose?
Right, and we had some great answers.
Yes, we did.
Crazy Train, Don't Stop Me Now.
We Are the Champion.
We Are the Champion. How do you like me now?
Someone said, well, I forgot the name of it again, the song from The Karate Kid.
Oh, yeah. No, we just played it.
Oh, we did.
The best. The best
that's
around.
it, yeah.
Okay, so then you said that you were a wrestler, right?
I was a wrestler, and I've always said I would take an Olympic in any sport. An Olympic gold medal over a Super Bowl, because football is a sport I played all my life. Wanted the Super Bowl, never got it. But if I had to choose, I would absolutely, positively choose being on the podium at the Olympics with a gold medal.
Remember, we're supposed to have a good time on the 21st of September every year because Earth, Wind, and Fire told us to.
Love that.
That was phenomenal.
Love that.
That was great.
Great would that be playing on the podium?
You all right with that? The whole crowd would be rocking. Everybody in Pyeongchang would be, I'm down with Golic.
You're toe tapping is what you're doing.
That is toe tapping music.
Snapping the fingers,
all the way around.
whole deal. That was lovely.
Jerry, great job.
But the one thing I'll say, tug of war?
Well, what else were you going to go for? Curling?
Curling?
You feel better about curling than tug
we could
of war?
mix our summer and winter Olympics. Well, tug of war is not even an event. Would have liked it to have been for wrestling.
It is for this point.
That's true.
Absolutely for this point.
I guess it kind of fits the show, huh?
So, okay, if you could have picked your sport to win that in and play that music, what would it have been?
I would have picked wrestling. Listen, I loved wrestling.
But wrestling would have been fun with the bit, you know?
It definitely would have. I would have taken it. I loved wrestling without question as much as football, but there was no future for me in wrestling I wrestled at Notre Dame past college. As I said, my brother was a better wrestler, thought about the Olympics in 80, but was already in the NFL. But I love wrestling. It's a fantastic sport.
Yeah, okay, real quickly, because we got to pay this off. Okay. We did over-under. We had one bonus for you. 1.5 Gronk suspension for the hit on Tre'Davious White. Over or under?
Well, listen, I understand because of Mike Evans, who got one game. Mike Evans hit Marshawn Lattimore in the back in an after-the-play situation, so I completely agree and understand the one game. Again, in comparison to Iloka and Juju Smith-Schuster, it sounds like it should have been more, but the box they were put in with Mike Evans, I completely understand the one game.
Yep, because of the precedent set. So, again, that's something to be figured out. We'll see what happens going forward. Mm-hmm. By the way, make sure you're with us tomorrow. Guests tomorrow. We got some good ones. Mm-hmm. Stu Gotts will be here.
Stu Gotts.
Beef stew. I'm sure he's angry about many things. So we'll talk about that. Adam Schefter will be here as well.
Shefty.
We'll get into that, talking about that. And Rams quarterback Jared Goff.
Oh, boy.
Big showdown.
What a year. But just what a year he's
Big
had.
Showdown. Goff Wentz, the top two. Taken a couple years
ago. Looking
ago.
Forward to that because last year everybody just cast him aside, and boy, what has he done since then?
And we got to leave it the way we just did. September, little September. Mike Golic's anthem music, ladies and gentlemen.
Love that.
Thanks for being with us. Another day in the books. Golic and Wingo. We will see you on Thursday. Body-ya, everybody.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.